Hey guys, just a quick note at the top of the video. I have commissions open! Check out the link in the description or send me an email at magicalgirlartist@gmail.com for more info. Okay, on with the show. Bye! Pretty Cure. Hi everyone, it's me again. I've been working on this video for a while now, and I made it my mission to get it out before the end of 2022. As of this recording, I have no idea if I've succeeded, but I hope I did. Today on the Great PreCure Watchening, we're talking about Heartcatch Pretty Cure, one of the most popular seasons in all of PreCure history. Let's get started. Once again, I managed to come into the season knowing very little about it. Like with Fresh, I saw the poster and immediately clocked the mid-season cure, but that's less of a spoiler this time around since she's literally in episode 1. I wasn't sure how I felt about the art style in the beginning. It's a complete departure from any other styles we've gotten up till this point, and as of this writing in 2022, we haven't gotten anything like it since. This is because the character designs were done by Yoshihiko Umikoshi, the character designer most known for his work on the Ojamajo Do-Re-Mi series. It really grew on me though. It's a lot more cartoony than previous seasons, which could be pretty cartoony themselves. I don't know, I like it. For this season and several after it, I was watching the version that was subbed by Do-Re-Mi subs. Nothing really to say about it, it was fine. I just felt that it was fitting for this season given who the character designer was. I remember seeing people on Tumblr say this was the dark season of the show and not really knowing how to take that. It's PreCure, so obviously I wasn't going to need an Utena-style trigger list or anything like that. But I do remember people throwing it around as an example of a dark magical girl season, in contrast to Madoka and its various successors. Foreshadowing is a literary device where Heartcatch Pretty Cure is about Tsubomi Hanasaki, Erika Kurumi, Itsuki Myoden, and eventually Yuri Tsukikage. Yuri used to be Cure Moonlight, but she was defeated and the Great Tree of Hearts started to wither. Tsubomi and Erika, later joined by Itsuki, become Cure's Blossom, Marine, and Sunshine and start collecting heart seeds to make the tree healthy again. Eventually, Yuri is able to become Cure Moonlight again as well, and they become a team of 4. Like usual, Heartcatch is an episodic Monster of the Week series. However, previous seasons always created their monsters by fusing faceless minions like Zakena or Sora Watezi with random objects. This is the first season where the bad guys turn people into monsters instead, using their negative emotions or insecurities to create monsters for the cures to fight. Each person has something called a heart flower, which comes from the Great Tree of Hearts. Tsubomi helpfully tells us the flower language symbolism of them every episode. If they wilt or get destroyed, the person stays a monster forever and the Tree of Hearts withers faster, so the cures have to act fast. This brings in a colorful cast of side characters, each of whom gets a bit of time in the spotlight and often show up periodically through the rest of the show. Heartcatch is also the first season to really explore the concept of generational magical girls. Sometimes previous seasons would imply that there had been other cures before them, but usually in the long, long ago times that nobody remembered and there weren't any real records of. In this series, though, Tsubomi's grandmother Kaoruko was a pre-cure in her youth, and she becomes a major character and mentor for the team. We also see that, in this continuity, PreCure have existed for hundreds of years and many generations. In the movie, we even briefly get to see the first one, Cure Ange. No relation. This season also brings back a couple things from the original Futariwa era. We start the season with a diametrically opposed duo in Tsubomi and Erika. They even get a duo transformation and duo attacks in addition to their solos. They're only technically a duo for the first 20-ish episodes before Itsuki becomes Cure Sunshine, but they still count. Heartcatch also brings back each cure getting their own mascot who helps them transform. Tsubomi's partner is Chypre, Erika's is Coffret, Itsuki's is Potpourri, and Yuri's was Cologne. Even Kaoruko has one in Copa. It also continues the starting trio color lineup tradition started in Fresh. Even though Heartcatch technically starts with a duo, the first 3 main cures are pink, blue, and yellow, so I'm counting it. Some of my favorite episodes include the one where we see Tsubomi's backstory of growing up mostly at her grandmother's, Nanami's episode, the Christmas episode with Cure Flower, the 2-parter where everyone has to confront their own self-loathing, and the one where Itsuki joins the fashion club. So something that I've talked about previously is my distaste for magical girl outfits where the main color is something other than the theme color, usually white. It's one of the main reasons why I liked the outfits for Go-Go better than the original Yes 5. That's one of my main critiques of the outfits for this season as well. I don't feel it's to the same extent as Yes 5, where every character had mostly white outfits with their theme color for accents, but it's still quite noticeable to me. Not every Cure in Heartcatch has the same amount of white on their outfits either. Blossom and Sunshine have relatively little. Marine has quite a bit, and Moonlight has frankly very little purple in her outfit despite ostensibly being a purple character. Cure Flower, Kaoruko's former alter ego, probably has the most white overall, but I'm honestly not sure if she's supposed to have white or pink as her main color. It's hard to tell. Either way, I appreciate that it makes them look like a cohesive team, but in my opinion, there's still too much neutral white and there should be more of their base colors. All that to say that I really like the outfits this season. I do. I swear I'm just a pedantic bitch. I honestly really like the outfits for Heartcatch. I love the flower petal skirts for Blossom, Marine, and Sunshine. It's something I've drawn inspiration from in my own original magical girl designs. I think it's a great touch for flower-themed characters. I wish they were longer, though that kinda skeeves me out. These kids are still 14. The thing I like best about the outfits this season, though, is the progression we see in them over time. Moonlight's outfit looks more like flowers than the other 3 Cures do. The other 3 definitely have design elements in their outfits that are shared with Flower, like the puffed sleeves and the flowers on their hips. Moonlight came first though, and so her outfit has the mostly white look to it, the long layered skirt that's higher in the front than in the back, the big flower with the little heart emblem on her chest, and the long hair with 2 pieces in front. It does make her look a bit out of place next to the other 3, but it's still pretty neat, and I like it. I also really like that Blossom shares more design elements with Flower than Marine or Sunshine do. They have the same pattern of pink and white on their bodices, the little pink triangles on the toes of their white boots, and even the color scheme for the most part. It's just a nice little touch linking the 2 characters together since they're grandmother and granddaughter. I love it, it's sweet. Something else that's kind of neat this season is the introduction of the transformation dresses. Previously, whenever characters transformed, their bodies were obscured by light or drawn in some kind of silhouette. In Heartcatch, each of them gets a dress that looks like it's made out of light that they then transform out of. I do miss the days when Futariwa had bespoke transformation scenes depending on what clothes the characters were wearing when they transformed, but I like this variation as well, and it's something we'll start to see more of going forward. The dresses also show up when the Cures are defeated or knocked out of their Cure forms in some way, leaving them lying on the ground in their light dresses. One of the coolest things for this series, though, is whenever the fairies turn into scarves that let the Cures fly. I have no idea why that works, but it looks fucking sick, so I don't worry about it too much. You gotta love when a character has a big, long, flappy thing like a scarf or a cape or a badass overcoat or a skirt or a ribbon or some shit that flies out behind them when they're kicking ass. It's so good. Works on me every time. As for transformation sequences, Blossom and Marine get their own separate ones, but their duo henshin is one of the most iconic in all of PreCure, if not magical girl media in general. It's so cute and fun. I love all the little interactions they have during it, like spraying each other with the transformation perfume and high-fiving each other, and of course the part where they link arms and spin around. Obviously, that bit is iconic. The other sequences this season were good too, but they're totally overshadowed and outclassed by the Blossom and Marine transformation. The OP for this season is the simply titled Alright Heartcatch Pretty Cure, and it fucking owns. It's bright, cute, and sweet both auditorially and visually. It's one of my favorites, not on the same level as Let's Fresh or Danzen, but it's still got pretty high up on my list from Jump. It's just a fun OP that I enjoyed watching. Unlike Let's Fresh, it didn't get a second version with the second half of the show. Like Splash Star, it got a few updated visuals when Sunshine and later Moonlight joined the team, but that's about it. I don't think it needed a new version, but some more updates to the visuals would have been nice. It feels like poor Itsuki and Yuri barely get any screen time in the updated OP. Maybe I'm just biased, though. Heartcatch also got the now standard 2 EDs, and okay, so here's the thing. I am 100% willing to admit I was biased against these endings from the start. I enjoyed the dance endings for Fresh because that could be related back to the text of the show. The protagonists formed a dance group in the early episodes that became a major part of the plot. It made sense, in my opinion, to do a dance ED for that show. I was extraordinarily grouchy to get to the end of Heartcatch episode 1 to find another dance ED. I guess on some level I knew there would be more of them since I'd watched about half of Great Pre when it was airing, but I hadn't expected it to be the standard forever now. I don't know. I just miss the 2D animated endings. So I wound up skipping both endings after one watch because I was being a cranky old bitch about it. However, I've since rewatched both endings with fresh eyes that mind less about the ubiquitousness of the dance ED, so let's talk about them. The first is Heartcatch Star Paradise ! It's fine. Like, I swear I'm trying to be objective here, but I really do think this one is just kind of okay. It doesn't have the same fun, bouncy energy of the OP, and the dance doesn't look nearly as fun to do as the one for You Make Me Happy. I listen to it and immediately forget what it sounds like. I skipped the ED for most episodes of every other series too, but I can still tell you what the chorus sounds like. For Heartcatch Paradise, no idea. Not a fan. Next. The other ED is Tomorrow Song, which I definitely like more. It gets bonus points for having a unique look and sound to it. I like the gospel choir style to the vocals and the church-like background for the beginning. The dance is more fun too. Maybe it's just that all 4 cures are involved in it, I don't know. Either way, although I like it more than Heartcatch Paradise and find it more memorable, I still don't really care for it. I promise I am trying to be more charitable towards these EDs, but they really don't stand out to me all that much. I know in the music section, I generally only talk about the openings and endings with occasional notes about the OST, but real quick, I want to talk about Heart Goes On. Heart Goes On is one of the insert songs for this season, and frankly, it's one of the best. I heard it on an 8-tracks playlist years before I actually watched Heartcatch, and it was what made me look forward to watching Heartcatch for this project. It absolutely slaps. It's fun to badly sing along with in the car, its spotlight introduction episode with the Light Music Club is fun, I guess, and it fucking rules. All Right and Heart Goes On are the 2 Heartcatch songs I listen to fairly regularly. Tsubomi is a little different from previous pink protagonists we've had in the series so far. A lot of them before and since have been some combination of energetic, loud, and enthusiastic, may or may not be into sports of some kind, and get mediocre grades at best. The one outlier there is Nagisa, who's definitely friendly and outgoing and has terrible grades, but she's a lot less of a Genki girl than Nozomi, Love, and even Saki to some extent. Tsubomi, meanwhile, is shy, awkward, and withdrawn, and she struggles to make friends and connect with her peers. As much as I liked Love, I was glad for a change. That kind of character can get tiring to watch if that's all you're being offered for your protagonist, so Tsubomi felt refreshing. Tsubomi struggles with anxiety, shyness, and a lack of self-confidence over the course of the series. She finds it difficult to speak her mind, especially when something upsets her, for fear of upsetting others. A major part of her character arc is becoming more comfortable saying how she feels, as evidenced by her catchphrase, "I can't stand it anymore!" Yeah, a quick note about catchphrases. I don't like them. I know I'm just being a grouchy old man about this, and it's such a specific personal taste thing, but generally I find them annoying. The exception is if it's something that someone could potentially say a lot, like Nagisa's "unbelievable" in Futariwa or Miki's "I'm perfect" in Fresh. But a lot of the time I find it super jarring and grating, like in the Pokemon anime for Gen 4 with Dawn's stupid fucking "no need to worry" bullshit that I'm still annoyed with. Ugh! I haven't really brought it up much before now because I haven't had much to say on the subject. Most of the ones in PreCure so far have been the kind I don't really mind. Saki's "I'm in top form" and Love's "Get Your Happiness" were clunky and kind of eye-roll inducing, but could be so much worse. And honestly, as much as I love dunking on Nozomi, her "it's decided" helped inform her character and didn't generally feel like unnatural dialogue. Even here, Tsubomi's "I can't stand it anymore" is characterful, showing her desire to gain confidence in herself and speak her mind, and it's not super clunky or awkward to say. The rest of the catchphrases in Heartcatch, on the other hand, are a different story. This was the first series where I noticed that every cure had their own catchphrase. Maybe they did in other series too, but I'm certainly not about to go back and check. The point is, this is the first time that it became super noticeable to me because they were clunky and awkward. Itsuki's is, "I will heal the darkness in your heart with my light," which is just, it's fine for a one-off line of dialogue, but it's weird to say in like 90% of your appearances, you know? Yuri's is a bit less wonky with, "I'll keep fighting for everyone's heart." It's not great, but it's better. It's more standard magical girl fare than natural dialogue, but that's definitely an improvement. And then there's Erika. "Even if my heart is larger than the sea, I've reached my limit." They tried to make a joke about it the first time she said it. Like it was in response to Tsubomi's catchphrase, and Erika was like, "Oh, I want a cool catchphrase too," and came up with that on the spot. It would have been fine if it was just a silly one-off bit, but then she just said it every time. It's so forced. Anyway, thus ends my dumb rant on catchphrases and the incredibly stupid reasons why I hate them. You can understand why I use the rant deleted gag so often now. As I was saying, I really liked Tsubomi as a protagonist. Personally, I find her painful awkwardness and desire to change and become more confident deeply relatable. It's something I used to struggle with a lot, and even now at 30, I'd rather not talk to most people. Watching Tsubomi come out of her shell while also becoming happier with the person she is was a really sweet character arc. I like Tsubomi. Erika, on the other hand, I had mixed feelings about her at first. It made me super uncomfortable in the first couple of episodes how she would just trample all over Tsubomi's boundaries for the sake of wacky hijinks. She's brash and loud and was constantly doing stuff that made Tsubomi upset or uncomfortable. Yeah, sure, she's got extreme youngest sibling syndrome, being jealous of her cool, successful older sister, but that doesn't mean the way she acts is okay. But, I don't know, she grew on me. I think it helps that she does apologize for her behavior in like episode 2, and that she's the butt of the joke a lot of the time. She's over the top and silly, but in a fun way most of the time. She's passionate about fashion, her relationship with her sister is interesting, and despite being selfish and overbearing, she'll mostly choose to do the right thing. She and Tsubomi make for great character foils, which is really what you want in a duo like this. However, then we get to Itsuki. Yes, continuing the trend of the yellow cure is my favorite, I would lay down my life for her in a second. I love her so goddamn much. Itsuki's whole deal is that she's set to inherit the Myoden family dojo and judo technique. Her older brother Satsuki is chronically ill, leaving Itsuki to be the heir, something she believes she needs to be fully masculine to do. Itsuki loves cute and feminine things, but feels that it conflicts with her image and her decision to fully live as a boy, and spends a lot of energy shunning that part of herself. Over the course of the series, she slowly starts becoming more comfortable with being both masculine and feminine. As Itsuki, she uses the masculine boku pronoun, but as Cure Sunshine, she uses the feminine watashi. She joins the fashion club and designs cute dresses. She tells her family she's a masculine girl who likes feminine things. There's a bit in the movie where someone asks if she's a boy or a girl, and her response is basically, haha, yeah. She is absolutely a non-binary, but the anime isn't allowed to say that. Anyway, gender aside, Itsuki is hands down one of my all-time favorite cures. She's a genuine sweetheart and always tries to do right by everyone. She's a literal ray of sunshine. I love her so much. I wish she got more screen time. She gets plenty, sure, but it always felt like she should have gotten more. I don't know, maybe I'm just biased. For our fourth and final full-time cure, we have Yuri. She keeps her distance emotionally from others, having been hurt recently by the death of her fairy partner and the mysterious disappearance of her father. Early on, she refuses to acknowledge Blossom and Marine as PreCure because she wants them to take the role as deadly seriously as she did so they don't get hurt. She's a really interesting character, and I liked watching her become friends with these dorky middle schoolers over the course of the series. She fills the role of the older, more experienced veteran character in a way we haven't really had on PreCure before. She also contrasts with Kaoruko's gentler mentoring style, which is fun. I like Yuri a lot, but she's probably my least favorite cure this season. Like, I don't dislike her, don't get me wrong, Yuri is great. I just like everyone else more than her, that's all. She fills an interesting role, but I was always way more interested in Itsuki's gender struggles than Yuri's dead dad. Speaking of interesting mentor characters, Kaoruko gets to go here instead of with the rest of the side characters after the villains because I said so. She's no longer a magical girl by the time of the series, but she's considered a legend even among the fairies for being the person who sent Dune and his desert apostles packing in the first place. I fucking love Kaoruko so much. She's a good chunk of the reason why I like Heartcatch as much as I do. Like I mentioned in the Fresh video, I'm always in favor of older magical girls, but it's also just nice to have an older mentor character in this show who knows exactly what our leads are going through. She's exactly what you'd expect from a sweet old lady type, except she also knows Kung Fu. I would die for Kaoruko. Plus also, the coolest thing in the entire world is in the Christmas episode where she becomes Cure Flower again and beats the shit out of the monster attacking Blossom and the others. It fucking rules. Go watch just that scene. You don't need context. We're back to every Cure getting their own fairy, sort of, so let's go over them quickly. Honestly, Kofret and Chypre are the same character to me. They just kind of blended together in my head. Tsubomi's partner Chypre is more of a sassy big sister, while Erika's partner Kofret is an annoying younger brother type, but they do basically everything together, and it's been long enough since I watched the show that they're just the same to me now. Potpourri, Itsuki's fairy partner, is a baby, but thankfully not a baby mascot specifically. By that, I mean the show doesn't dedicate time to having to take care of a baby like Fresh did with Chiffon, but she's literally considered to be a baby in the text of the show. Honestly, she's my favorite. I think her little déchu and mispronouncing Itsuki's name are cute. She's clingy and can be obnoxious and overbearing, but I still vastly prefer her to, say, Poren and Lulun from Max Heart. The other two fairies in the show are special cases. First off, there's Yuri's old partner, Cologne. He's dead. Like, he's literally dead. He dies in, like, the first minute of episode 1, saving Yuri from Great PreCure. This being PreCure, I was convinced he'd come back, especially since I knew Yuri would become Cure Moonlight again at some point. And midway through the show, he does come back. As a ghost. For, like, 1 episode. Solely to talk Yuri into becoming Cure Moonlight again. And then he dies. Again. So, yeah, I don't really know how to take his character. He seems to be a good dude who genuinely cares about Yuri, and she's clearly very torn up about his death and blames herself for it, something he reassures her she doesn't need to since it was his decision to sacrifice himself. I like him as a facilitator for Yuri's character development, but as a character he's barely in the show. I've saved the best fairy for last. Koppa was Kaoruko's fairy partner when she was Cure Flower, and it's unclear if this is the form he always had or if he looked more like the other fairies on the show before. I prefer to think he just always looked like this. I love him so much. Why does he look like this? It rules. There's a shot in the OP of him going to fucking town on some dudes, and it's amazing. He turns into Kaoruko's dead husband to make her less sad about missing him all the time, which is a little weird, but also kinda sweet, I guess. Chypre and Kofret call him Koppa-sama and are obsessed with him, which, like, same, hands down, the best fairy character in the whole series so far. Alright, so, villains. The main villain this time is Dune, an Enharmonia-looking motherfucker from space, I think? Honestly, I don't really remember what his deal is. He's brought up a lot over the course of the show, but he doesn't really do much for most of it. He's the leader of the Desert Apostles, which is definitely a cooler villain team name than we've gotten up until this point. And their plan is to turn the whole world into a desert. Why? Because he's the Desert King. As much as I do like this season, I feel like the main villain was lackluster. I mean, par for the course with PreCure at this point, honestly, but it would be so nice to have a villain who's actually, like, a character. You know, someone who has a shared backstory with a major character and isn't just, like, the manifestation of malevolence or some bitch with delusions of grandeur that our heroes have never met. Dune has a tragic backstory with being an unwanted child with a vendetta against his dad, but it's got nothing to do with our heroes or Pretty Cure in general. He's boring. As a matter of fact, though, we do get some of those. They just aren't the big bad. Professor Sabaku and Great PreCure are the two villains who get the most plot beats dedicated to them outside of Monster of the Week fights. Sabaku is basically the main villain, in my eyes. yes, he works for Dune, but he gets way more screen time and actual character stuff than Dune does, and is frankly a more interesting character. I like his design too, with the weird mask thing. He's sinister and powerful, and you can call a twist with this character a mile away, but I like him for the most part, I guess. Dark Pretty Cure is, well, exactly what she sounds like. She's an evil magical girl meant to be a dark mirror of Cure Moonlight. I didn't bring her up in the outfit section, but I really like how her design is meant to mirror Moonlight's. They both have one long glove and the little hair flip thing, and their color schemes are white, purple, and blue versus black, red, and green. It's great. I love how fucking edgy she is. Like, this girl shops at Hot Topic and puts her middle finger up at preps. She's got one wing and heterochromia and keeps one eye shut at all times. She spends most of her on-screen appearances either kicking everyone's ass or monologuing about how love and friendship and all that are garbage and they should just embrace the void or whatever. She feels like she was designed by a middle schooler, and that is a compliment. I love that for her. Of course, no PreCure season would be complete without some generals. We have a trio of misfits this time with Sasarina, Kobraja, and Kumojaki. Obviously, Kumojaki is my favorite. He's not quite a himbo on the same level as my perfect man Westar from Fresh, but he's like if someone took a minor Dragon Ball Z character straight off Planet Vegeta and dumped him in PreCure. He's obsessed with fighting and getting stronger, and nothing else matters outside of that. What a guy. Honestly though, they're all pretty stock. Kumojaki just happens to be a stock character that appeals to me specifically. He's the stock tough guy moron, Kobraja is the stock feminine playboy guy, and Sasarina is the stock vain girl. Like, they're all fine, I guess, but they're nothing that special. Honestly, in comparison to previous generals, I really don't have a lot to say about them. They sure are in every episode, I guess. Another new thing this series has is Power Rangers-esque foot soldiers. Every season up until this point has just had one big monster per episode that the girls have to beat up. Heartcatch still has those with the Desertrians, which are the guys that become big manifestations of the NPC of the week's bad feelings. However, it also introduces the snackies? Hold on. Okay, so apparently they're sunakis, with suna meaning sand in Japanese. It generally gets romanized as snacky, though, which is very confusing. Anyway, they're like the generic, easily defeated foot soldier characters from Super Sentai or Power Rangers. I like this addition. It's cool to see magical girls beat up a big monster, but it's also cool to watch them mow down huge swaths of funny little shadow guys. I gotta say also that I really dig the bad guys having a desert theme in contrast to our heroes having a flower motif. Deserts are often seen as being hostile to life, especially plant life, so it's a neat touch. It certainly makes more sense than fruits fighting the cardinal directions in Fresh. I still don't know what the hell that was all about. To round out our character section, let's briefly talk about some of the side characters. Like with Fresh, I really enjoyed a lot of the side characters in Heartcatch. I think having each episode featuring a new character to get turned into a Desertrian was a great way of giving us a colorful cast with minor characters who get time to shine in one episode and then may or may not turn up again as the show goes on. Several of them join Erica's fashion club at school, so we see them there. It's fun. That said, there are definitely still some standouts. I love Erica's sister Momoka. She's a fashion model, something Erica is insanely jealous of, but it turns out she's also jealous that Erica gets to live a carefree life while she's constantly having to work and think about her image. She's an interesting character. I like her. I also really liked the episode about Nanami, one of Tsubomi and Erica's classmates. Her mother passed away and her father works almost all the time, so she does a lot of cooking and cleaning for their family as well as most of the caretaking for her little sister. She acts fine and recognizes that this is just how things have to be for now, but she still really wants to be able to just have her own life. I don't know, I liked her episode. It was sweet. My number one favorite, though, is Kenji. He's tall and has a bad case of resting bitch face, so everyone is scared of him, but he's a sweet boy who loves drawing shoujo manga about PreCure. I would die for him. His relationship with his mom is so cute, too. She's so supportive. I love them. There's a bit in the episode where Sheep for Kofret and Potpourri are looking for a partner for Potpourri, and one of the people they end up considering is Kenji. You all know how much I love Itsuki. I shot my mouth off about her just a few minutes ago. But there's a part of me that cries, "Let Kenji live out his pretty cure dreams, you cowards!" I just wish that the end of that gag wasn't, whoa, it'd be kinda weird to have a guy be a pre-cure, because I think he would rock it. Kenji is the 5th Heartcatch cure in my heart. Of course, not every side character is great. The less we talk about Hayato, the kid with a crush on Yuri, the better. And as much as I love Heart Goes On, the episode where it's used for the first time has some of the weakest side characters so far, in my opinion, despite overall being a pretty good episode. I mean, obviously not every episode is going to appeal to me, specifically, but most of the rest of them are pretty good. I mean, as far as the overarching plot goes, Heartcatch is about on the same level as the previous seasons. It's not doing anything super groundbreaking there, and that's fine. At this point, I've accepted that PreCure is always going to have the same general plot structure. What Heartcatch does do well, in my opinion, is the stuff outside of that. Largely the character stuff, which I've already talked about at length, but also building the world the series takes place in. Like I mentioned before, this is the first series to get into the idea that the main characters are the latest in a long legacy of magical girls, and it's one of my favorite things about it. It makes the world feel like it has a history to it. One of the best mini-arcs in the show is when the characters are trying to obtain the Heartcatch Mirage, a cool toy in stores now, I mean the only thing that can give them the power to do their big cool team attack. In order to obtain it, they have to face off against themselves, specifically manifestations of their self-loathing and insecurities. Y'all know I love a good battle in the center of the mind. Those are some of the best episodes in all of PreCure, let alone just this series. I enjoyed the hell out of them. There are two main things that kill this show a bit for me though. The main villain and the ending. As I talked about in the character section, I found Dune boring as hell. This man has no personality and isn't even in the show. The Dark King in Futariwa had more presence than Dune. The real main villains, in my eyes, are Professor Sabaku and Great PreCure. Except they're not. Let's talk about that ending. So yeah, in the last couple episodes, Dune shows up from where Kaoruko flung him into space last time they met or whatever, and starts turning the world into an infinite desert. Everybody is fucking dead, or like their heart flowers are wilted or whatever, which is basically the same thing, except for all the people the cures saved over the course of the show, which is neat. Kaoruko gets kidnapped by the Desert Apostles, and our heroes have to go save her. A whole bunch of other stuff happens that doesn't really matter here, and Blossom and Moonlight wind up confronting Sabaku and Great Cure on their own. And here it's revealed the shocking revelation that no one could possibly have seen coming. Professor Sabaku is actually Yuri's missing father! Yeah, literally the second the show was like, Yuri's father is missing, presumed dead, I clocked that he was Sabaku. It's not exactly rocket science. Again, this is a show for young children. That's not the issue, though. The issue is literally everything else that comes after that. Okay, so we learn Sabaku is Yuri's dad, who is kind of brainwashed, I think, and that technically he's also Great Cure's dad because he created her to be a copy of Yuri, and so she's also Yuri's sister. Kind of. It's very weird, and the show puts a lot of emphasis on this for one episode. Moonlight fights her while Blossom keeps Sabaku from joining in that fight, and Moonlight wins! Hooray! And then Great PreCure gets back up and starts yelling about how Sabaku is her dad now, and Yuri can't have him back, and Sabaku makes them fight for his affection. Moonlight kills Great Cure, who dies in Sabaku's arms, and now Sabaku is a good guy again, I guess. And then the three of them fight Dune, who beats them, and Sabaku does a heroic sacrifice to keep Blossom and Moonlight alive. Yuri gets really fucking pissed about this and is seconds away from ripping Dune's arm off and beating him to death with it. But Tsubomi does... I'm getting mad just talking about it, oh my god. Okay. So Tsubomi gives Yuri this speech about how PreCure fight with love in their hearts, not hate, and this somehow gets Yuri to calm down, and they transform again in time for Marine and Sunshine to show up from where they were having their own little adventure. So they smack Dune with their super big powerful attack, which doesn't work, and then he gets real big and tries to blow up the Earth. And then the Cures fucking fuse, like in Stevens University, and punch him. He's a good guy now. Hooray! And then he dies. Then we get a couple scenes of 6 months later to show that everything's fine, and the second most beloved Pretty Cure season ends. Alright, where the fuck do I even start with this? I guess we'll start with Sabaku. From my understanding, I think we're supposed to believe that after Dark PreCure dies, he's not brainwashed anymore or something, but Moonlight sure forgives him awful fast. This is the guy who killed her fairy partner, sent the generals after her and her friends every week, and created the girl that's been beating everyone's ass all season. If it was supposed to be a Yuri is too trusting of her dad because she's missed him so much moment, that'd be one thing, but it's also validated by him helping fight Dune after and sacrificing himself to protect her. Literally, in the episode previous, he pitted her against Dark PreCure to make them compete for his affection. I'm losing my mind. I wish he wasn't supposed to be brainwashed. I wish he was just straight up a manipulative bastard, twisting Yuri and Dark PreCure's shared desire for a father figure to try and destroy both of them or something. That would make him way more interesting. Dark PreCure's weird turnaround on wanting Sabaku as a father figure is also super fucking weird. The entire season she's been saying how useless things like love and family and friendship are, and now suddenly she wants to be daddy's little girl? Hello? Where the fuck did this come from all of a sudden? Then there's Tsubomi's awful little speech to Yuri after Sabaku dies. She's got this whole thing about how PreCure have to fight with love in their hearts, not hate, and how she should think about how much she loved her father instead of how much she hates Dune. All I could think of the whole time was how much Tsubomi's tune would change if Kaoruko had been the one to die instead. It makes her feel hypocritical, insufferable, and worst of all, out of character. Tsubomi has never brought this up before. Why start waxing philosophical about love and hate now? It's garbage, and makes her seem way more holier than thou than she's been for the entire rest of the series. And then there's Infinity Silhouette, the final form the four of them take to purify Dune. This hasn't been built up at all. Tsubomi just says something about how individually their love can't overpower Dune's hate, but united they can! And then they fuse, and punch him really hard, and he gets purified, and then dies. I'm not joking. This is the final episode of the series. I can't overstate how out of nowhere it is. Literally nobody has talked about Infinity Silhouette or anything resembling her ever. The closest we get is Cure Ange, the first PreCure in this setting, and even that's a stretch. I guess it's supposed to be the person they summoned during Heartcatch Orchestra? But why can they fuse and become her? Again, no build-up whatsoever, it just works. It's like something I'd pull out of my ass when I'm trying to quickly come up with a way to wrap up a TTRPG session for my friends, not the conclusion to an entire season of an anime. Absolutely atrocious all around, well done everybody. Hit the showers. I think the thing that kills me about the ending, though, is that it's a stellar crash and burn for a series I had really enjoyed up until that point. Heartcatch is hands down one of my favorite seasons. I love the art, the characters, the concepts introduced, the theme song, pretty much everything. But the ending just fucked up so hard. I don't think I've ever seen an ending this bad. Insert Game of Thrones joke here, I guess. I haven't watched that show, so I don't know if it's on quite the same level, but it is to me. The Heartcatch ending sucks. There, I said it. Alright, I had no idea where the fuck to put this, so we're putting it here. You may recall, back at the start of the video, those many minutes ago, I talked about the perception of Heartcatch as a dark and or edgy magical girl show. I have no idea what show these people were watching, but it isn't the same one I did. Like, yeah, Heartcatch definitely gets into some more mature territory than previous PreCure seasons had, and even a lot of seasons since haven't touched the same subjects. We have a minor character who is basically a single mom to her younger sister. We have Itsuki's gender troubles. We have Dune's backstory. But mostly, when people talk about the darker subjects in Heartcatch, they're talking about Yuri, about how Cologne died, about her relationship to Dark PreCure and Sabaku and her character arc. And yeah, all of that is stuff that requires more thought than good guy punches bad guy with magic and whatever. I'm not saying it's bad, except for the parts that I don't like. I am saying, though, that people tend to talk about that and totally forget about all the butt jokes. There are so many butt jokes. I cannot over-exaggerate how many butt jokes this show makes. Not only do we have gags like Tsubomi's Blossom Butt Punch Attack, we also have a heart seed appearing every episode being pooped out from one of the fairies. I'm serious. Honestly, I'm half convinced Breath of the Wild stole this joke for the Korok seeds. That's not to say that a goofy, cartoony series can't have darker or more serious moments, or can't be good in general. I grew up on Captain Underpants, y'all. I can appreciate a good butt joke. But I've often seen this series thrown around as being similar to Madoka, or even an alternative. I haven't watched Madoka yet, but it feels to me like having someone say, I really like the Dark Knight trilogy, can you recommend me some superhero movies in the same vein? And telling them to watch Superman 1978 starring Christopher Reeve. Yeah, it's a superhero movie, and yeah, it's a really good superhero movie, but someone looking for something similar to the Dark Knight trilogy probably isn't looking for Superman 1978. They're completely different tonally, with totally different themes, messages, cinematography, and basically everything else. Yeah, Superman 1978 has some serious moments, but it's nowhere near the same as the Dark Knight trilogy. You're better off recommending the Michael Keaton Batman movies or the original Watchmen comics. Likewise, people looking for something in a similar vein to Madoka aren't looking for a show for little kids. They might like something like Sleepless Domain, a fantastic magical girl webcomic you should all go read right now, or Princess Tutu, which I haven't seen but am told it does some interesting things with the concept of a narrative, or Revolutionary Girl Utena, which I also haven't seen and should probably only be watched with a trigger list on hand. But that's not usually the point, is it? The point is usually that Madoka Magica is problematic, and nobody should watch it ever because of whatever laundry list of reasons the person railing against it doesn't like. Again, haven't seen it, have nothing to contribute to that discourse. I guess my point here is maybe stop recommending Heartcatch as an alternative to Madoka. People going into Heartcatch expecting a dark, mature magical girl series are going to find a fun, cute anime toy commercial for little kids, and while I think Heartcatch overall is a great series and honestly would recommend it, those people are going to be disappointed. I know that was kind of a long and winding road to get to this point, but I had a lot to say about this season. It has its ups and downs, but I do genuinely think it has more ups than downs. It's just that the downs are really down. All told, I definitely agree with people when they say it's one of the best PreCure seasons of all time, and with the people who say it's one of the best magical anime girl ever as well. It's just not as dark as some people try to make it out to be, and the ending is... well, let's not get into all that again. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have you seen Heartcatch, and what do you think of it? Let me know in the comments. Next time, hopefully sooner than it took me to write this one, we'll be talking about Great PreCure, so I hope to see you again then. Bye! Heartcatch.